Thank you, Rick. Rotary International President's Representative Jack and Suzanne are very, very, very good friends. Mr. Governor, Sue Ann Hodge, Mr. Governor-elect Kevin and Amy. Kevin, thank you for learning the time tonight. District Governor nominee Carolyn, you were always welcome in our home until I saw that you put on underwear in front of 300 people. Mr. Governor nominee delegate Kathleen and Ben, that's Mr. Governors, Rotary Club presidents, and friends of District 5400. As many of you know, your district governor, Gene, received his degrees from the University of Oregon, the home of the Fighting Ducks. Go Ducks! I'm very proud to say that I graduated from the finest university in Texas, Texas A&M, the home of the Fighting Texas Aggies. So I had to find a story that would involve students from the University of Oregon and Texas A&M. And it goes something like this. One day in the middle of the summer down in Texas, Police Chief Billy Bob heard that there was some dog fighting going on in his county, and people were gambling on the fights. Billy Bob decided to send his newly trained officer, Bubba, to investigate. After about 2 weeks, he came back to report. Billy Bob says, Bubba, what did you find out? He's doing all that gambling down there in Texas. Bubba says there's 3 groups down there doing the gambling. Three groups, says the chief. Yep, says Bubba. If there's 3 groups, who's the first group? Well, there's a group of students from the University of Oregon. How do you know they're from the University of Oregon? Because they entered a duck in the dog fight. Yeah, that sounds like it, all right. Who's that second group? Well, a bunch of students from Texas A&M. How do you know they're from Texas A&M? Because they were betting on the duck. Now that sounds like those Aggies, all right. Who's the third group? The Mafia. How do you know the Mafia is involved? Because the duck won. On a serious note, we have certainly had this past year one of the best themes ever created for Rotary International in Making Dreams Real. But as this Rotary year comes to a close, it's time to draw from our inspirations, from our rich histories. It's time to contemplate our future, and set new goals, and face new challenges. To the President-elects here tonight, I must say that you are about to begin the very best job in Rotary. You are the Rotary Club presidents with the future of Rotary in your hands. No pressure, and a lot rests on your shoulders. This is hard for me to say being a past district governor, but it's not the 530 past district governors of Rotary. It's not the 17 directors of Rotary. And it's not even the president of Rotary International that do the work of Rotary. It is the individual Rotary clubs with its members all led by you. If you think about it, it is in your club where the true work of Rotary gets done. It is your performance that will save and change the lives. The question that needs to be asked tonight, to not only the President-elects, but to all the Rotarians in this room, around the world, is where do we go from here and how do we do it? I truly believe that our ultimate goal in Rotary is very, very simple. It's the advancement of world understanding, goodwill, and peace. And I truly believe we need this more today than we ever needed it before. Easy task? Not at all. But of all the organizations in the world that can accomplish it, it is you, it is me, and it is Rotary. Simply said, the world has never needed Rotary more than it does today. Those who are denied life's most basic essentials cannot hope for a decent future, much less a world of understanding, goodwill, and peace. I, like you, know that Rotary cannot take responsibility for all the world's problems. If you think about it, the amount of humanitarian service that is needed in our world is truly overwhelming. But President D.K. Lee asked us to focus on 4 critical areas. The first area of concern is literacy. This is hard to believe, but today a staggering 2 billion people, that is nearly 1 out of 3 people in the world, cannot read, write, or do simple math. They enter the 21st century without even the basic ability to sign their name. What is truly sad is that 2/3 of the illiterate are women, and illiterate women raise illiterate children. Our challenge is not beyond our borders. This is hard to almost comprehend, but today 1 in 4 adults in the United States have not completed a high school education. You in Rotary can make a difference. The second area of concern is water. Without clean water, little else is possible. If you're thirsty, nothing else matters. Water is life. The United Nations calls the water crisis a threat to the economic development, poverty reduction, to the environment, peace, and security. I do not want to ruin our wonderful dinner that we have had tonight, but I would like to show you a sample of water. Now what I'd like all of you to do is do something to yourself. Slowly count to 8, beginning right now. Do you realize that a child just died? It's hard to imagine, but every 8 seconds, a child somewhere in our beautiful world dies from a water-related disease. Over 6,000 children a day. Consider this terrible fact. On any given day, half of the people in developing countries are sick because they drink contaminated water just like this. None of us in this room would ever think about drinking it, taking a bath, shower, washing our hands, or even our clothes. 1 billion people do not have access to the same water that we all enjoy tonight. The third and critical area has to be hunger and health concerns. An estimated 600 million to 1 billion suffer from malnutrition, with 20,000 people a day dying from hunger-related causes. 70% die from preventable causes, with the leading cause being malnutrition. If you think about it, Rotary's greatest efforts, of course, is Polio Plus. But the world still has 42 million people living with HIV and AIDS. In wealthier countries like ours and other countries, health concerns are often overlooked. They've been concealed, making it easy for us to ignore and even deny that they exist each and every day around the world. Yet in every community in the world, in your community, my community, people are in serious need. Simply said, without health, there is no hope. Rotary has asked you and me to do something very simple. To open up our eyes, to open up our hearts to those around us who cannot afford food, health care, and shelter. Past President Jimmy Carter once said, "A hungry man is an angry man, and there simply cannot be peace as long as there is hunger." The fourth and final emphasis are the world's children. Children who truly deserve to have food, have safe water, have health care, and schooling. Each and every day, over 30,000 children under the age of 5 die from a preventable cause. I urge you to travel outside of the United States to discover that the world simply doesn't live like you and I do. I must admit, I truly didn't understand this fact. And I'm not embarrassed to tell you that until I led a group study exchange in the Philippines during the month of February of 2006, did I understand it. A country that is the same size as the state of Arizona, with one large difference. Arizona has a population of 5.7 million people. The country of the Philippines has a population of 88 million. The capital of Manila has 3 times the population of all of Arizona. I'm not embarrassed to say in front of all of you, that I took for granted my clean water. I took for granted my clean bed at home. I took for granted my decent food that I get every night and every day, until I had it taken away from me. Days when I had to drink distilled water each day. When I showered every day with a bucket of cold water. When I slept on the floor. When my meal every day, and every meal, was a monkfish dried on the street, served over rice. I lost 17 pounds. It's the best Rotary project and assignment I've ever had. I urge you to witness firsthand the great work of your fellow Rotarians and our incredible Rotary Foundation. Many countries in the world, like the Philippines, simply would not survive without Rotary. Our foundation and Rotarians around the world have brought hope, and they have truly made dreams real. As Rotarians and citizens of the world community, we cannot turn our backs on these vast needs. Can we change the world? I know we can. We wear a pin that welcomes us in 32,000 clubs in over 200 countries and geographical territories. We have 174 flags in our Rotary family, more than that represented in the United Nations. Can Rotary make a difference? Bet it can. We've been doing it for over 100 years. Can you make a difference? Rotary is you. What Rotary becomes the rest of this year and in the future is really up to you and me in this room. We may think that we are only helping to equip a school, to supply a clinic, to build a well in a faraway community. But in reality, what we're doing is building a better, a more stable, and a more peaceful future. Everything that you do will make an impact. Let me illustrate by a simple quiz. Can you name the 5 wealthiest people in the world? Bill Gates? Warren Buffett? Can you name the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners? Can you name the last 5 winners of the Miss America contest? I'm not going there. Can you name the 10 people who have won Nobel Peace Prize? Can you name the last 10 winners of the World Series? And it's not the Yankees. How did you do? The point is, none of us really remembers the headliners of yesterday. But you say they were the best in their fields. But the applause dies, awards tarnish, achievements are forgotten. Here's another quiz and see how you do. Can you list a few teachers who aided you on your journey through school? I can name more than a few. Can you name 3 friends who helped you through a difficult time? Can you think of a few friends, people that make you feel appreciated, special? Can you name 5 people you enjoy spending time with? I've got a lot more than 5 that are in this room. Can you name a half a dozen heroes whose stories have inspired you and made a difference in your life? The lesson is very simple. The people that make a difference in your lives and my lives are not the ones with the most money. They're not the ones with the most credentials. They're not the ones that have the most awards. The people that make a difference in our lives are the ones who care. The things that make a difference in the world today, tomorrow, and 100 years from now, the kinds of opportunities that Rotary affords us each and every day. The opportunity to educate the illiterate, to provide clean water, feed the hungry, to heal the sick. And perhaps, just perhaps, to promote world understanding, goodwill, and peace. I am constantly reminded that you may be only one person in the world, but with Rotary, you can be the world to one person. You may not be able to help everyone everywhere, but you can certainly help someone somewhere. I've always been convinced through my life that every action, and I mean every action, no matter how large or small, does make a difference. Try this sometime. Ask your children, ask your grandchildren, your nieces, and your nephews, what do they remember most about their childhood? Their answers can be quite surprising. They remember events that have long been forgotten. Simple moments that just happen as a part of life, that they create profound memories. One day, I asked our son Brian, now 24, we call him the Booger. He'd really get mad if he knew that I shared it. But I asked Brian what he remembered most from his childhood, about our relationship. You know, dad and son. I thought it would be something really cool. I thought it would be like one of our wonderful, wonderful vacations that we took as a family. Maybe it was the time that we rode down a volcano in Hawaii at 4 a.m. in the morning. Boy, did I hear about that one. How about the time that his soccer team won first place when I was his coach? Like I had something to do with it. Maybe it was the time that he caught that 28-pound king salmon in British Columbia. Being from Texas, I told him it was a 50-pounder. None of these items even made the list. What he told me he remembered most about his years in this world was the time when Pam and the other two children had gone away for the evening. Just the two of us, laid in our backyard on the cool deck, with our feet in the pool, and we counted stars. You see, it's the little moments that define who we are, what we are, how we live, how we interact each and every day, moment to moment, and day to day. That ending starts here. It starts tonight, and it starts with you. That mother, that child, waits for you to make their dream come true. So just how do we begin this wonderful journey? In the book titled Halftime, the author Bob Buford suggests that we all have two specific times in our lives. The first half and the second half. The first half is a half that we've all gone through in this room, a quest for success. The second half is a journey to significance. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and try to define what success is, but I would like for you to consider the following. If you were to shrink the world population down to a village of precisely 100 people, with all of the existing human ratios remaining the same, it would look something like this. 6 people would possess 59% of the wealth, and all 6 would be from the United States. 80 would live in substandard housing. 70 would not be able to read. 50 would be suffering from malnutrition. Only one would have a college education, and only one would have a computer. My question, have you reached success? We have to ask ourselves, are we at a stage in our lives where we should be at our best? The second half. A time when the game of life is won or lost. A time when we add significance. Taking the time to perform deeds that you want to be remembered for. In order for you, as Rotarians, my myself to be effective for the Rotary year ended June 30th, 2010, I'd like to suggest 4 things. First of all, we must be proactive. As suggested in the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, by Stephen Covey, Mr. Covey defines proactive to mean more than just taking the initiative. It means taking responsibility. We have a responsibility to take action. I'm reminded of a story that I'd like to share with you. One day at a Special Olympics track meet, a young girl had just won the 50-yard dash. She was jumping up and down, all excited. She yelled out to her parents, "Look, Mom, look, Dad, I won. I won." Her parents instantly burst into tears. At the award ceremony, the young child stood proudly up on that award stand as they placed that gold medal around her neck. She then ran over to her parents, who were still crying even more than before. The 3 of them hugged as their parents kept crying. An official who had watched this whole scene became very concerned. He went over to the parents and said, "Excuse me, is there anything wrong?" Through her tears, the mother said, "No, nothing's wrong. Everything's right. You see, we heard our daughter speak for the very first time." This little girl was proactive. She took the initiative. She took responsibility to dream, take action. Robert Schiller once said, "Leaders are visionaries with an extremely poorly defined sense of fear. Absolutely no concepts of the odds against them, who make the impossible happen." Many less advantaged people in the world, in your district, my district, around the globe, have benefited from the leadership of our predecessors over the past 100 years. Rotarians with a very poorly developed sense of fear. Rotarians who completely ignored the odds against them. Rotarians who were committed to make the impossible happen. If there is ever a time to be fearless, if there's ever a time to be committed, if there's ever a time to dare to make a difference, it is now. This is your time to shine. It's been said that the greatest risk is not taking one. The remaining part of this Rotary year and next year, I must ask, will you be that fearless leader? The second suggestion is recommended by the great coach Rick Pitino in his book titled "Success is a Choice," is to set demanding goals. I'm reminded of a great Rotarian that I met many years ago, one of my many, many Rotary heroes. His name is Tony Zeno. Now, Tony was a Rotarian in the Manhasset, New York Rotary Club. Tony had set a very simple but very demanding goal: to provide free open-heart surgery to all the children in the world who were suffering from congenital heart defects. His Rotary Club said, "Tony, you've got to be kidding." And remember, his club was in New York, so I had to clean it up a little bit. What a goal. Tony's club project, which was started back in 1974, is now a Rotary program called the Gift of Life. A program that, yes, provides free open-heart surgeries to children all over the world. Several years ago, I had the honor and the privilege of being part of a team that ran a clinic in Hermosillo, Mexico. Our job was to select the children that would receive this open-heart surgery. As I was performing my extremely important assignment, handing out suckers, taking stinky socks off their feet, a very beautiful and pretty 14-year-old Hispanic girl approached me and presented me with a straw basket and a really big hug. Through an interpreter, I discovered that her name was Marie Jose Salazar, who at the age of 2 received a Gift of Life surgery. Just weeks after Maria's surgery on August 17th of 1988, her father was broadsided in a truck that he was driving, not wearing a seatbelt. He was catapulted and he was killed. Maria and her mom moved away from the Gift of Life program, which I later became involved in, lost track of her. Maria and her mom had heard about the Gift of Life clinic that day in Hermosillo, Mexico. And they traveled by bus over 12 hours to do something very simple. To say thank you. Thank you for saving her life. Maria wasn't thanking me. She was thanking Rotary. She was thanking you. I am very proud to tell you that that simple little straw basket sits on my credenza in my office in Phoenix to remind me each and day that the children of the world do Rotary, and we should never forget it. Because of one person's demanding goals, I am very proud to tell you that today over 8,000 children like Maria have had successful open heart surgery. Has Tony, has Rotary made a difference? I think so. If you think about it, it will only happen in your club if you make it a priority. As stated by Scott Reed, people with goals succeed because they know where they're going. The question of the evening is, do you know where you're going this year? Do you know where your Rotary Club's going? We must always remember that everything in Rotary, and I do mean everything in Rotary, starts with one Rotarian in one Rotary Club. How do you think Polio Plus got started? Are you that president? Are you that Rotarian that will set the bar higher, make that demanding goal? The third suggestion is Rotarians and Rotary must develop partnership relationships. We must learn from the success of our Polio Plus program. We would all be kidding ourselves if we think we can have immunized over 2 billion children in 122 countries without our partnerships with the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the Centers for Disease Control. Outside organizations are starting to partner with Rotary. For those of you that were at the International Convention in Salt Lake, I hope you heard what I consider the greatest Rotary speech I've ever heard. It was given by an honorary Rotarian named William Gates Sr. Yes, the father of Microsoft. Their gifts totaling $355 million were the largest challenge gift ever given by the Gates Foundation. And they were given to you and me. Why? Because the Gates Foundation believes in our organization. The Gates Foundation has the money. They don't have the eyes. They don't have the hands. They don't have the feet. They don't have the heart to do what needs to get done. Bill Gates Sr. said, and I quote, "Rotary is the finest service organization on the planet. We are a massive collection of energized volunteers with local values. We're an army of activists who place service above self. You may not be able to establish a financial relationship with a $38 billion foundation, but will you be that Rotarian that develops that next relationship and partnership?" Lastly but not least, the all-important key to success, suggested by Napoleon Hill, is a positive mental attitude. As we sit here right here tonight, there's a child, there's a family, in this community in a faraway land, waiting for you to lead the way, waiting you to share Rotary, waiting for you to make your dreams real, with a positive attitude, waiting for your spirit to make a difference, waiting for you to say, "I can, I should, and I must." As you attend your Rotary Club meeting next week, will you be that new attitude? Will you be that Rotarian that shows their members that they can? That shows that they're members that they should? Shows that they're members they must. The difference between just another Rotary Club year and the best year your club has ever had is within your reach. If you lead with enthusiasm and a positive mental attitude, and look back next year knowing that a job was well done, what kind of effect will you have next year? I'd like to share one last story that illustrates this point. One morning, Gladys Johnson received a call from the doctor to say that her husband had experienced a massive heart attack during his physical examination. Mrs. Johnson raced to the hospital, wondering later if she'd even manage to hang up the phone. She tried not to think the worst. As she reached the doorway of her husband's room, she lost her composure. All she could see was a mass of tubes, all kinds of machinery, and squiggly lines on the monitor ahead. "What happened?" she cried. "A stroke," the nurse answered grimly. "He's stable now, but not very responsive." Gladys fell to the knees, the side of the bed, and gripped her husband's hand tightly. "I love you so much," she whispered, pressing his hand to her forehead. She prayed. She told him how much she needed him to recover. Then there was a knock at the door. The doctor entered and asked, "Mrs. Johnson, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm praying for my husband," she said. "But Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Johnson is in the next room." In her emotional state, Gladys had entered the wrong room. Oh dear, I hope I didn't disturb that old man.